Portland has been getting a ton of attention lately for its incredible food scene. So if visiting Portland is on your list, you won't want to miss this episode. Tune in. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of Five podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of five around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast, where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We appreciate you listening.
Travel Party of Five podcast. I am fresh off of a return flight from Paris yesterday.
You've done a lot of traveling.
And yes,
lately.
But we are not going to talk about Paris today. We're not going to talk about Europe at all, actually. That will be coming in the next few weeks. But we're going to talk about Portland today, which is where I went before I left for Europe. So a little backstory. Dwayne and I started this podcast end of 2023-ish. And we've really been wanting to figure out how to grow the podcast and how to continue to make a business out of travel and content creation, basically.
Yep.
So in Portland, and the reason I'm sharing this is why I went to Portland. So in Portland a few weeks ago was the TravelCon conference for 2024. And basically there's quite a few different travel creator conferences, but this one specifically has been around for a long time. It was originally created and founded by Nomadic Matt, who is kind of like a legend in the travel industry. I bought Nomadic Matt's book, How to Travel the World on $50 a Day, back in 2011, and like his ebook. And that book is what helped me plan my trip to Europe in 2012, which is when I went backpacking through Europe for like a little over 2 months, I think.
Solo.
Yeah, by myself. Yeah. And so this is kind of like one of the events of the year where travel creators come and connect and learn. And there are different sessions you can attend. And so Dwayne and I talked and decided that we should go. And by we, really that's one of us, because someone has to stay with the kids.
Yep.
And so we decided that I should go. And so I did go, and I learned a ton, and it was a really great conference. And so I'm going to talk a little bit, not so much about the conference, because I don't really think that's why any of you are listening, but I'm going to talk about how I got there, where I stayed, and a few places that I ate, because Portland is really becoming kind of well known for its food scene. And so I went to a few really good food places. Food places. I went to a few really good restaurants.
Food places.
I mean, yeah. And one Anthony Bourdain even visited when he visited Portland. So,
R.I.P.
Yes, R.I.P. to Anthony Bourdain. Okay, so let's first get into it. So I booked my flight to and from Portland on American Airlines, actually.
And it was pretty short notice as well.
Yeah, we only decided that I should go maybe a few weeks before the conference. So it wasn't it wasn't really planned. And the other kind of tricky part was the conference was the week before I left for Europe. So I ended up landing really late on a Friday night. And then the following Sunday, so 48 hours later, I was back at the airport on a flight to Europe. So it was, and the week prior I had been in Orlando for a work conference.
Yep.
So it's been May was a very busy travel month. And I think I spent more nights in a hotel bed than I did in my own bed. So kind of a lot. But I booked on American Airlines. I think I booked 2 one-way flights. I'm not really sure why, but I did. But I did it using my Capital One $300 travel credit. So that in order to use that, you have to book through the Capital One travel portal, which is generally not what I would recommend or how we book travel. But number one, it's the only way to use that credit. You have to book through the portal. And number two, a flight like this is actually a perfect way to use that credit because I'm only booking for one. And if I were having to book a flight for all 5 of us, I probably would be using points and I wouldn't be able to use the credit. So
Nope.
I think that situations like that are the perfect place to use up that travel credit. So that's how I booked, and it was a direct flight each way. I also had checked Southwest because I also have some Southwest vouchers from our delayed Costa Rica flight, but Southwest didn't have a direct flight from Phoenix to Portland, or if they did, it was like incredibly expensive. So that became not a good option. So yeah, I flew on American. It was great. Easy flight. It's about 2.5 hours each way. I stayed at the Hyatt Centric. So the cool thing about the Hyatt Centric is the Centric is a brand that I have not stayed at before. So we've talked about the Hyatt Bingo on here before, but staying at this hotel allowed me to check off another brand under the Hyatt logo.
And that puts you at what?
Well, that one put me at 4. So I needed one more to get a free night. And in Italy, spoiler alert, I got the 5th brand. And so now we have a free night that we can spend. But We'll talk about that when I do Italy on a different podcast.
So I know there's multiple Hyatts in Portland. What made you choose the Centric?
So yes, there's a few actually. And it's worth noting that this conference was at the Oregon Convention Center, I think is what it's called. And there is a Hyatt literally next door to that hotel. But I think that it was booked or something. I tried to book there and I couldn't. And potentially that's because we made the last minute decision to go. So the Hyatt Centric was the next closest to the convention center. And it was actually a little cheaper than the Regency would have been. So the Hyatt Centric is a category 2 Hyatt. You can book it for, I think, around 8,000 points a night. Because this is technically a business expense, we actually didn't use points. We paid cash. But you can obviously use points. And it's a category 2 Hyatt, if I didn't say that. The Hyatt Regency at the Oregon Convention Center is a category 3 Hyatt. So it is starting at around 12,000 points. And I mean, I met people that were staying at the Regency and they said it was great. So
I'm sure the Regency gets, most of their business from whatever's going on at the convention center.
Oh yeah, for sure. So. Yeah. I mean, it was walking like literally across the street. You could have walked. The Hyatt Centric was maybe a 8 to 10 minute lift ride. So it wasn't far, but it's across the bridge. And so I wouldn't walk it if it were me. Portland did seem to have some decent public transportation. I took the train one day with a couple girls that I met and we went and got lunch at this Vietnamese restaurant. And we took the train, which was basically like the light rail is here in Phoenix. It was an above ground public transportation system. And I mean, that was great too. So maybe you could have taken the train from the hotel, from the Hyatt Centric to the convention center, but I didn't attempt that. So, but okay, let me talk about the hotel a little bit. So great location, super walkable to a bunch of stuff. They have a restaurant kind of in the lobby where they do coffee and stuff in the morning and also breakfast. And then they have like a bar at night where you can also eat dinner. And the food was quite good. I ordered from there my first night that I got there because I was exhausted. And I think I just had macaroni and cheese or something, but it was good macaroni and cheese.
Is it just the one restaurant?
Yeah, it's just the one restaurant. Yeah. The bottom of the hotel is not super big. Like the Regency probably has more than one.
Sure it does.
But this one was not a huge hotel. I took a lift from the airport and it's maybe a half an hour from the airport to like downtown Portland. And the Hyatt Centric is, I would consider, in downtown. And my Lyft driver, basically I said to her, I made the comment right before she dropped me off. And I said, I've never been to Portland before. This is my first time. And she was like, well, just don't go out at night and you'll be fine. And I was kind of like, okay. That was not my experience. I mean, I wasn't really out at night a lot, and I wasn't alone if I was, but I never felt unsafe. So I will say, though, I do think Portland has had an especially hard time recovering from the pandemic. That was said to me by quite a few people who live there. And I mean, there are homeless people. It's very much had a Seattle vibe. And we were in Seattle in 2021. I mean, there are homeless people, on the corners. And
yeah. I mean, there's homeless people everywhere, but, some more than others. But
yeah, but I never felt unsafe. So I think that's worth noting. But okay, so let me talk about the hotel. So I check in, great experience checking in. They had upgraded me, and I'm using air quotes because we've talked about this before. Like the upgrades you get as an explorist are really just like a better view or something. But the upgraded room that they gave me was maybe on the 9th floor or something. And I stepped out of the elevator and my door was directly in front of the elevator, like directly. And I thought, oh, okay, like that's probably not going to be the best. And I stood inside that room for a good 5 minutes debating whether or not I should ask to move.
And you did.
I did. Spoiler alert, I did. But I have only ever asked this one other time before, and I was traveling for a work conference. It was at a Hilton. And it was because the door didn't lock. The door was completely shut. It locked, but the door would be completely shut and locked, and I could see into the hallway from my room. And I'm a female traveling alone. Like, it's just not safe. So.
Shame on you, Hilton.
Yeah. So anyways, I did ask to move. The girl was really nice. I said, both for safety and noise reasons, I just don't want to be right in front of the elevator. Like, I don't need people seeing me get off the elevator and going directly to my door, nor do I need to be woken up by people, waiting for the elevator or getting off the elevator in the middle of the night. Also, the room itself wasn't super big. So it wasn't like once you open the door, the bed is set back far. It wasn't. The bed was pretty close to the door. So it just didn't feel right. So I asked to move. They did move me. The girl didn't know the layout of the hotel super well, which was fine. But I ended up on the 3rd floor with no view. Couldn't even look out my window because I think on the other side of my window was the air conditioning units. And
I thought that was another building, but
no, I'm pretty sure it was the AC units. But the reason I say pretty sure is the window was fogged or frosted. It was frosted halfway up. So I couldn't see anything out of it. So I'm pretty sure it was the AC units, which honestly, I would have preferred to look at that and been able to see out the window than not. But I was not about to go ask to be moved a third time.
I'm surprised they weren't noisy.
Or a second time, I guess. No, I mean, it was kind of like a white noise, but it really wasn't loud at all. It didn't bother me. The Centric, the vibe of it is kind of industrial. So the floors are concrete, the ceilings are concrete, and there's pillars in the room, and the artwork is very, I don't know, funky, I guess. I'm sure there's an art term for it, but I don't know what it is. But I mean, it was a cute hotel. I had everything I needed.
Overall, would you stay there again?
Yeah, I would stay there again. It would not be, here's the thing to note though, it wouldn't be good for kids. One room would not be big enough to fit our family of 5. And the original room they put me in was a 1 king bed, and the second room they moved me to was a 2 queen. Even the 2 queen, would not have been enough room. So, and again, you're in the middle of a city, so rooms tend to be smaller. I get that. But something to note, if you're planning a trip with kids, this would not be the hotel that you should stay in. There are some other like Hyatt places and Hyatt houses that are a little more outside of the city. And that's probably where I would stay if we were going to go with the kids.
Or the Regency, probably.
I mean, or the Regency. Yeah, the Regency probably has bigger rooms. And yeah, that might be a good option too. So
what about the food scene?
Okay, so I ate at 4 different places. 3 were restaurants and 1 was kind of like a food stall cart area. So I guess let's start with that one. That was called Cartopia. And I actually met some other people attending the conference there, and we had like a group dinner. And so there are different food stalls. I mean, they're not really carts. I think they're more like stalls, but there was maybe 6 to 10.
Like, was this indoor or outdoor?
No, it's outdoors. And think like long picnic tables in the middle, surrounded by different.
So when you say stalls, like little like shack type?
Kind of, yeah. Like it felt like they were food carts that didn't move, basically, or food trucks that didn't move, but they weren't really trucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there was like an Egyptian Mediterranean food place. That's what I ordered from. But there was also pad thai that we heard was really good. In fact, so many people from our group ordered it that the guy had to put a sign in the window that said like sold out while he made more. And then after like a half an hour, he was like, okay, you can order now. There was a pizza place, there was a burger place, and maybe a couple of others. So, but it was a great place to go and meet because everyone can get something that they like.
Yeah, there's choices.
Yep. So that was Cartopia, and that was, again, not far from the convention center, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I took a lift there. So, the second place that I ate at was, I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm not going to try, but it was a Vietnamese restaurant, and it was spelled Cuon. And I feel like there was some kind of a symbol around the O, maybe. So I met a couple of girls who are local to Portland, who are creators, and they create about food in Portland and all that. And they knew so much about the food scene of Portland that I was so impressed by them. And I mean, what they knew was like every time someone mentioned a restaurant, they were like, oh yeah, that's so great. And what about this one? And it's just like every time a new restaurant opens, like they are on it. And I felt almost a little like ashamed because one, I mean, I wouldn't say we have a great food scene here in Phoenix.
I mean, it's on the rise, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it is in Portland, I would say. And so like there are new restaurants that open here, but we don't. I mean, also I guess we have 3 kids. I don't know.
I mean,
but we are not on top of it like they are, or they were. And so I was learning so much from them, and I kind of said like, okay, so like where should I go to eat for lunch? And they were like, oh, well, you have to narrow it down for us. Like you have to give us a food genre. And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, I just want something that's close by here. So we ended up going to lunch together, and their names were Whitney and Kamiko. And I'm going to link their Instagrams in the show notes if you want to know about Portland food.
Kamiko, she Japanese?
She was partial Japanese, because we talked about that. And I don't know if I fully remember the story, but she was partially Japanese, but I think like
she grew up in Portland.
She didn't grow up in Japan. I know that. Yeah. Cause we talked about you growing up in Japan, and yeah.
Anywho.
Yes. Anywho. So I'm going to link their Instagrams because if you do want like the up and coming and what's new in Portland food scene, you should follow both of them. And okay. So Kamiko said, we can go to my favorite banh mi sandwich that I've ever had. I can take you to that restaurant. Oh, really quick. I want to go back 1 second. So Kamiko was honored with an award, I think the night before I met her. And it was Travel Portland honored her with the Community Connector Award. And I mean, I think basically what she does is she connects business owners with other business owners within the food community. And it just seems like she does such a fantastic job of that. And I mean, I only spent a couple hours with the girl and I was like, wow, like she just has that kind of welcoming energy. And yeah, so anyways, wanted to give her a little shout out for that because I thought that was cool. But okay, so the banh mi sandwich. So we go to this restaurant. It's not fancy. It's like a little hole in the wall, but it was the best banh mi sandwich I think I've ever had. So I'll put a link, every restaurant that we talk about here, I'll put a link in the show notes too, if you guys want to go and check it out. But it was very good. They got like noodle bowls and a rice bowl, I think, when we were there. And I had the sandwich. Also, the sandwich is ginormous and I could only eat like half of it. So it's really big. And I got like a mango green tea that was just chef's kiss.
Sounds good.
So refreshing. So yes, it was delicious. The sandwich, it had like the perfect amount of sweet and the perfect amount of like sauce, but it wasn't too sweet. The bread was great. The meat to bread ratio was good. It was great. Okay, so yes, Cuon. That was the name of it. However you pronounce that. Okay, what else? Oh, my last day there, I ate at a restaurant called Lil Shalom. This was walking distance from the Hyatt Centric. And it was just like Mediterranean food. So I had the burnt beef ends, which was like pastrami served with hummus and pita and some jalapenos and cilantro. And that was really good. I asked for a slice of lemon so I could squeeze that over it because it needed a little something, but it was really good. And I also had like an iced green tea there too. And then my favorite place that we went was the place that Anthony Bourdain visited when he went to Portland. And that restaurant is called A Pizza Shoals.
Dr. Scholl's brother, Mr. Scholl's, created this or no?
Well, it's spelled just like that. And so we went there with a pretty large group and we ended up, they don't take reservations, I don't think. We tried. And we ended up having to break up our group and sit around 8 to a table. And we also had to stagger the time that we ate. But we ordered 4 pizzas for our 8 people and a salad. And the 4 pizzas was maybe a little aggressive, but we did eat most of it. And we got to try a whole bunch of different
I remember the picture you sent.
options.
Looks super good.
Yeah, the pizzas are pretty big, and it was really good pizza. They don't have they have 1 or 2 of the pies that he ordered, but there's he ordered a clam pie, and they don't have that on the menu anymore. And there was also another one that he ordered that wasn't on the menu, but the server was able to tell us oh yeah, he ordered this and this for sure. And so we at least got to try some of what he ordered.
Doesn't sound appetizing to me.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, but we were going to try it, but it didn't exist there.
So how or who decided on this restaurant?
Oh yeah. So, there is a girl, her name is Valerie, and she owns a blog and an Instagram, I think, called Eat Like Bourdain. And this blog basically maps out everywhere Anthony Bourdain ate and kind of talks about it in detail. And so she organized this dinner. And so it was really cool. It was a great time. I love that concept of her blog. We are big Anthony Bourdain fans. We used to watch his stuff all the time. Before
this girl.
Yep. Her name is Valerie and her Instagram is Eat Like Bourdain. And I think that her blog, yes, eatlikebourdain.com is her blog. So, and it says on her Instagram that she has a podcast coming soon. So I did not know about that, but that's awesome. So, really cool concept. Love that idea. And that's how I found out about this restaurant. The cool thing that they did at this conference was they also had what they called dinner clubs, and you had to sign up for them. And it was only, I think, 8 to 10 people per dinner club. And I think it was maybe Italian food or Vietnamese food or that kind of thing. But this was my first time attending this conference, and I had no idea what those were. And apparently they sold out really quick. But I love the idea.
It's great networking.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the idea of it being a small group, because then you can really talk to other people. Whereas when it's a huge group, you know, it's harder. So when we ate at the pizza place, I did chat with quite a few other creators there who are moms who do some points and miles. And so that was really fun to get to talk with them. And yeah, I enjoyed that. So, okay. So the Vietnamese restaurant, Cuon, the food stall place, Cartopia. There's a bunch of food stall places too. So if you look up that one and it doesn't have anything you're looking for, there's quite a few other ones. A Pizza Shoals, and then Lil Shalom were the 4 places that I ate. Beyond that, I pretty much just ate either in the convention center or in the Hyatt Centric hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Portland in a nutshell.
Yeah, so the one more quick brief story about Portland. So my flight to the airport was Friday night. The conference ended Friday at like 3 or 4, and I had to immediately go to the airport. I actually had to leave before the final speaker was done because I didn't want to miss my flight, and we were running a little behind. But I call my Lyft, and we drive to the airport, and the driver tells me, like, it's telling me to take this way, but I'm going to take this other road because it's rush hour, and there's not going to be a lot of traffic on this other road. So that's what we're going to take, that road. He goes, but just so you know, it's not the best area. Like, you're going to see probably the worst area in Portland. And I was kind of like, okay. Like, I will say I didn't feel unsafe. Like, I feel like as a solo female traveler that you have to just be extra cautious at all times. But I mean, I didn't feel unsafe for whatever reason. So, and I mean, you know, he just went the right way, and his Lyft GPS routed him, you know, following the road he wanted to take. And I did get to the airport on time and all that. But this gave me a glimpse into the part of Portland that a lot of tourists don't really see, I think. And it was, he kept calling them, I think, lingerie clubs. So I think maybe that's like an adult club.
Strip club.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. He was like, it's not quite a strip club. It's called a lingerie club. And I was kind of like, okay. So we pass all these, and then there were actual women soliciting on the side of the road.
Prostitutes.
Yeah, I just was trying not to say that in case people have their kids listening. So, yes, and they were not wearing a lot of clothes. And I was like pretty shocked.
What's the address?
Oh my gosh. Gross. So yeah, that was my adventurous ride to the airport. I would love to go back to Portland and do a lot of the hiking and the stuff outside of the city.
Oh yeah, beautiful scenery.
I would love to visit the wine country. Tillamook is there.
I have a good friend that lives there.
Cheese. Yeah. So that's what I would do if we were going to go back, is I would do more of the hiking and stuff. They do have, so associated with these travel conferences, they do have basically like excursions, I'm going to call them, that happen either the day before the conference or the day after. And you can sign up for 1 or 2 of those, and it's included with your ticket. However, because I was 1, working, and 2, leaving so quickly after I got back and had just returned the previous week, I didn't want to give up any more time with the kids or, you know, work or anything to go early or stay after. So I didn't get to do any of those things, which was a little bit of a bummer, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. We have a ton of travel planned this year, and so I'm certainly not lacking in that arena.
Definitely not deprived of that.
Yeah, we're not deprived at all. But it would have been nice to do it because, you know, we paid for it in the ticket is my understanding. So next time, you know, we'll try to allot more time for that. Unfortunately, next year the TravelCon conference is actually in March, and we cannot go because we already have.
And it's in what,
booked.
Tucson?
It's in Tucson, so we could have driven there.
Don't know why they picked Tucson.
I mean, it's probably cheap, honestly. Tucson has like Tucson is fine for like a day or two.
Yeah, great scenery. I'm sure there's great hikes, but
yeah, there's good hikes. It's a little Sedona-ish, and it has like that kind of quirky hippie vibe.
I wouldn't say Sedona-ish.
Not in the scenery, but just in the like I bet you there's some kind of a vortex there or like, you know, that kind of thing. Like, no, you don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, in full transparency, I've actually never been to Tucson.
I mean, I've lived in Phoenix area for 20 plus years, and I think I've been to Tucson twice.
Yeah, but we could have driven there, so it's a little bit of a bummer. But you know, we will be in Europe when the conference is happening, and that trip has been booked for a while. So, too bad, so sad, I guess. But I would go back again. I got a ton of value from it every single day. I learned a new nugget, and I think that's the whole purpose of these conferences. So, anyways, if you guys have any Portland tips, I guess we'd love to hear them. You can find us on Instagram.
Or recommendations.
Yeah, or recommendations at Travel Party of 5. And otherwise, thank you so much for listening. Next episode, I think, should be Europe. I'm going to have my sister on as the guest to talk about it since she was on the trip too. And I don't officially know her schedule yet. So I'm hoping that'll be the next episode, if not for sure in the next 2 weeks.
Well, we appreciate you listening.
Yes. Hope this was helpful if you have a Portland trip planned or coming up. And as always, find us on Instagram if you have questions. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.